Welcome to the XBlock.
Am I right, Marine? Sir, yes, sir! Then listen up.
You're listening to the XBlock. I'm Jared, he's Caleb. Let's get into it.
You are listening to the XBlock episode 12. I'm Jaren, and I'm here with Caleb.
Hey,
and this is the world's #1 Xbox podcast.
probably.
Yes, definitely probably. And today, recorded at an all-new time, so possibly expect random noises from the world outside of our doors.
Yeah, I know, right? Usually, Jaren and I record in the wee late hours or the wee morning hours of Friday night / Saturday morning. But this week, since I'm fixing my dumbass sleep schedule, and I'm actually like a normal human being right now, like I went to sleep at like an old person, went to sleep at like 8 p.m. and woke up at like 5 a.m., some shit like that. We record in Saturday morning, right? Is it Saturday morning? Yeah, it's Saturday morning.
I think so.
Yeah, it might as well be. So,
they tell me.
Yeah, we got some news that came out this morning that was good that we actually waited to record, though. But we're recording at a brand new time, so like literally anything could happen.
It's true.
Yeah, it's a totally different world. The sun's out, it's crazy.
Sun's out, buns out.
Yeah, dude. Is it sunny where you are? You're in Toronto, so it could actually, you could be in the middle of a fucking, thunderstorm, and I wouldn't know.
Nah, dude, it's sunny.
Yeah,
We're laughing here.
I hate the sun.
Doing well.
I like the rainy dreariness, of clouds and rain, and it's dark. You don't have to it's like wearing sunglasses, but you don't have to because the sky does it for you. That's how I think about
You
it.
should just move to the UK then.
I mean, it wouldn't be the worst thing, dude. My people hail from the UK.
I think all our people hail from the UK.
Well, I don't know. Some people's, are German or whatever the hell, but the first permanent like British colony in the US was Jamestown and in Virginia in like 1604, 1607. And there were 114 or 104 colonists. And I've like done the research because I have like 2 degrees in history and I know how to research things properly. And I went on Ancestry and looked through all their primary sources and like traced different shit back and all that. And one of on my grandfather's side, on my mother's side, one of my ancestors was one of the people who landed in Jamestown. His name was John Aspey. So there you go. I did, and you can look it up on Wikipedia because they have a list of all the the people. So I was like, oh yeah, I'm right because I went to Wikipedia to look it up, and I was like, yep, that's him. And so there you go.
My dad's name's James, and so is his dad's name. So maybe like they ran the town.
Kind of pretentious, isn't it? Where you're like, I'm naming my son after me. Like, who are you? Know what I mean? Like, I don't want to be rude to your grandfather, but you're like, But my great grandfather named his son, not my grandpa, but my grandpa's brother. Named him after himself too, and I was like, really, man? Seriously?
If it happens 3 times though, then you get to be the 3rd.
Yeah, which is kind of cool, not gonna lie. You get the Roman numerals, but then it's bad for legal documents, because that's a whole fucking mess, right?
Alright, well, what have we been playing this week?
Is this a video game podcast? Hold up a minute.
Who knows?
This is just what we talk about normally. Stupid shit. What have I been playing this week? That's a great question, Jared. I think last week I mentioned that I was playing Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2. I talked about Ultra Instinct Goku kicking my asshole in. I sent Jaren like a video of it or something from YouTube, and it's like, yeah, he looks like he's about to kick your ass in. And I was playing that Hero Coliseum like card game bullshit, and I finally beat that. It gets very hard at the end, like very hard. Like the AI is using maxed out, highest rank, max level best card bullshit against you, and somehow you have to find a way to beat them. And after like 35 tries in the last dude, I did, because my deck was so fucking good, even though I didn't have like the best deck. Did that, then I got the rest of the achievements, very excited, and now I'm going back to Dragon Ball Xenoverse 1, which I have fewer achievements in, and there's less to do, like I only need like a couple things to get like, basically you get all the moves. There's super moves and ultimate moves. You have to get all of them. But unfortunately, it's like totally RNG based. So you have to go into a quest. They have like, I don't know, 55 of them. And whatever ones you're missing, some of them require you to get an ultimate finish in the quest, which means you have to meet specific requirements. Other ones you don't have to. And basically, you just play these missions over and over again until you get the move that you need. Like, it gives you the drop. And it's actually, it wasn't too bad for almost all of, like, I'm doing the ultimate techniques now, and then I'm going to do the super ones after. For the ultimates, it wasn't too bad to get like the 30 or 20 I needed, but there are like 2 of them. One of them took me like fucking 3 hours of grinding to get. And now I'm on the second one that I've been grinding for like an hour and a half maybe, and I'm just waiting for this move to drop, but I only need like 2 more to finish the ultimates, and I get the achievement, and I'm just waiting. And it's just, I usually don't go for RPG or RNG based achievements, but this one I was just like, I did the second Xenoverse game, which literally, Jaren, I think you can see my playtime is like 5 hours play or 5 days played and like 20 hours.
Crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy. And so that's like Witcher 3 level. And so I'm just like, I'm gonna do the series. Like I'm gonna do the first, and I'm out here grinding. You know how it be. So there you go. That's what I've been playing.
Basically, just still doing the back catalog. He's been doing it forever. He's still got games to go.
Yeah.
For a man who completes games, you seem to have a lot of uncompleted games.
Exactly. Like, I don't know, but between like 2014, 2012 even, and like 2016, 17, around there, I played games where I was just like, this achievement is a bit harder than I want it to be, so I'm just not going to get it. So I have a bunch of games where I'm missing like 3 achievements. And now I'm at the point where I'm like, I got some time, and this isn't as hard as I thought it would be, and there's guides and shit, and I'm like, I'm just going to do it. And I've been completing a bunch of games. It's pretty fun.
So back in the day, you were a human, and now you're an addict.
Fucking delinquent. Yeah, like a deplorable, as Hillary Clinton would say, something like that. I'm just the trash of video game players, dude, out here going back into these old ass games. But you know, when Xbox makes these games like FPS boosted and shit, some of them, it makes the experience way better. So
that's true.
That's kind of cool. What have you been playing, man?
I've been playing Assassin's Creed Valhalla.
Yes.
Still like not that close to being done, but you know, I'm working, I'm grinding.
Not that close to being done. Does that mean like 20 hours in? 40?
Yeah, I'm 30 in.
Yeah, split the difference. Okay.
Yep, dude. I'm just rocking around, collecting shit, doing all the stuff that I gotta do, grabbing the viewpoints. You know how it is.
I know how it is, man. I completed Odyssey and Origins, and I want to start Valhalla. I have it. I got the gold edition, but I'm just so, I don't know. It's like you got to commit. You know, you got to be in.
Yeah, dude, it's quite the commitment. And I've also been playing a little bit of Among Us.
Okay, yeah, with your boys out there on, was it Thursdays?
Yeah, Thursdays.
I've been unable to join for like various reasons for like a solid 2 months straight.
I think Caleb just doesn't want to play with us.
It's not true though. It's just always like at the point when it comes time, I'm either doing something else, have this other commitment, or I'm like tired from other shit I had to do that day.
Yeah, or he's asleep.
Like that. Or that, yeah, usually that actually.
Well, we talked about history for a bit. We talked about our games.
Oh, wait, time
Whoa.
out before we move in. Something else we've been playing. Yesterday, you and I started DayZ, right?
Yes, we did.
We can talk about it a bit more later, you know, if we talk about our Game Pass or gameplay game of the month. But a little bit of a tease. I don't know if you want to talk about it more at this moment, but that is something you and I played for a couple hours yesterday.
Yeah, I feel like we should at least keep our thoughts to ourselves, at least until we get like, I don't know, like a week away, maybe to tease our review.
Well, let's hold it in, Jaren. Only you and me know. Listen, they're out there, they're listening, they're like, what the fuck is it? Like, what do they think? You and I are going to let them know, Jaren.
You guys won't see it coming. We're holding it in like a fart.
Yeah, like a really, really something fart. I don't want to say anything about the fart because that might give away our feelings of the game.
All right, and now we're moving on to Outside the Box.
I'm thinking outside the box,
where we cover all the news you need to know outside the Xbox community. And today we are starting off with Ubisoft. Dude, they hit us with the back pedal.
Dude, more like you be hard. Am I right? I'm going to say that every time they come up.
Not after that news.
No, I don't know. I say that every time about Ubisoft.
So essentially, Ubisoft came out and they made these statements on AAA game development where they said that they were going to focus more on free-to-play offerings. And this was the exact quote. Our intention is to deliver a diverse lineup of games that players will love across all platforms. We are excited to be investing more in free-to-play experiences. However, we want to clarify that this does not mean reducing our AAA offering. So that is what they said after everybody came out and was like, whoa, you guys aren't doing your AAA games anymore? Because their first statement was kind of along the lines of, we're switching away from AAA development and focusing more on free-to-play, which Caleb and I tweeted out from the XBlock account. We were like, well, that sucks. And I think I sent out a SpongeBob meme that said boo at XBlock podcast.
There you go, if you want to find out more about that. So their initial statement, was that from a financial report or whatever, like a earnings call or something?
Yeah, the guy who was speaking, Frederick Duggett, he stated that those were purely a financial communication. So to that I say, well, why aren't you more like straight up with your investors then?
Yeah, I don't know. So yeah, the initial, like Jaren said, the initial premise from these, I don't know if it was a financial earnings call, whatever the hell, this dude was like, basically, we are making, it sounded like they said they were making a shift or something into investing more into free-to-play games. And then someone, the video game industry reported on this, and it was like, wow, you guys said a couple of years ago, or even less, that your strategy was focusing heavily on single player or, like big AAA titles that weren't free to play with a bunch of microtransactions. Even though they have microtransactions still, but they're not free to play like bullshit games. And then they had to come out and they're like, nah, dude, what we're saying is we're investing more heavily in free to play titles on top of our offering, like our normal AAA bullshit that we're going to keep releasing, like Far Cry 6 or Assassin's Creed Valhalla. And what they're saying is that it's like, it's additive. Like, we're not decreasing the value of, like, we're not decreasing the amount of, or the number of AAA titles we're making and this kind of shit, and in lieu, of some free to play shit. We're just going to invest even more in the free-to-play shit on top of the other stuff. And I'm like, yeah, but you only have so much money. So what you're saying is you're spending money investing in that stuff at the expense of investing more heavily in the AAA games, right? That are not free-to-play.
Yeah, that would be kind of what I took away from it. And also, I know we've got E3 coming up, so it's possible for them to announce more. But it does seem like they're already putting that practice in place where they only have Far Cry 6 and this Riders Republic game announced, which they say is a premium AAA game, but I don't know. Seems like Steep to me, which nobody played.
Yeah, I don't know how well that game's going to do, but I imagine not enough to justify development, maybe.
Yeah, and then they announced 2 free-to-play games, so it seems like they're already making this shift away from... Like, they're still making the premium games, they're right about that, but if they're only making, like, 1 a year and a bunch of free-to-play games and then some weird spin-off game, like, I don't know if I definitely don't like that better than when we used to get 2 to 3 AAA games from Ubisoft every year.
Exactly. And it's just what people are saying, like, oh, they're not taking money from the AAA games and putting them into free-to-play games. They're just investing more heavily into the free-to-play games. And it's like, yeah, they're saying, well, that's not true at all. We're just investing more in free to play games. We're not taking away from our other thing. But that does still make the industry and us half right, because, like I said, if you're investing more in free to play games instead of something else with your limited amount of money, then in a way you are, right? So they're like, well, you're not. They're like, we're not. Your guys are wrong, and it's like, no, we're half wrong.
Yeah, that's true. And they also, like, the weird thing is that also came out from their financial call is a lot of their games did exceptionally well. Like Assassin's Creed Valhalla made the most money of any Assassin's Creed game, and the yearly revenue was up 50%.
Yeah, I don't know if it said it was like fastest selling in the first week in their financial thing. Ubisoft had actually done really well financially for the past year, I believe. And this Assassin's Creed Valhalla title has made, them more money in the same amount of time as any other Assassin's Creed game. Assassin's Creed 3, they said, sold the most units between whenever it was they're measuring, I guess, from release to March, I think.
It had more time.
Yeah, and so it sold more units, but Assassin's Creed Valhalla made more money. And they said that they're using this data and other things to say that they're pushing the DLC expansion nonsense timeline for Assassin's Creed, and they're going to support it for longer, like Valhalla. And so it seems like this is going to be part of a trend where they launch these AAA games that they're not free to play, but they have a bunch of like add-on content and shit, and then they're going to support them for a longer amount of time. So instead of just releasing Assassin's Creed Valhalla as like a single player RPG and releasing one every couple of years, 3 years even, whatever, they're like, yeah, we're just going to release Assassin's Creed, and they may still release another one in 2 or 3 years, maybe, or 4. I don't know what their plan is, but they're definitely going to support, it seems, each one for, 2 years. Instead of, I think Odyssey, they supported that one for like a year after launch, right?
Yeah, they supported it for a pretty long time.
Yeah.
It's because all the content's like 20 hours long. So it's the whole reason why I didn't start Valhalla until I started it like this week, because I was still burned out from Odyssey and the 300 hours that game was.
Yeah, it's so fucking long. The Assassin's Creed games are so long now. The base game is like 100 hours to complete. And then, you have the DLC, which I like the DLC for Odyssey and Origins, but the DLC is like 3 expansions or whatever that are another 15 hours or something. And just, by the way, on top of the Assassin's Creed numbers, they said this Assassin's Creed franchise had its best sales year ever. They said that was on top of their back catalog of Assassin's Creed titles, like Origins and Odyssey and things, and the older titles being on sale. And then I guess also the add-on content for Odyssey. That's part of what made it sell more. If you read the whole VGC article, that's what they said, is that the back catalog of offerings from Assassin's Creed is what pushed it to have its best sales year ever. So add-on content is what they're going for.
Yeah, so everyone likes single-player games. Literally everything that we've stated about their financial success so far has been everybody likes their single-player games, and they said, so everyone likes our single-player games, we're going to make more free-to-play games.
Yeah, I don't know if those are going to go on mobile phones and shit and all that or whatever, but I guess that's worked well for Activision in terms of making money. But we'll see about Ubisoft.
And now talking about other, I guess, big publishers getting bigger now, if this stuff pans out.
Medium-sized relative to other publishers.
Sega has announced that they plan to make what they quote as a super game.
A super game, dude. Fucking Microsoft's out there making a quadruple A game. Sega's making a super game, dude. Got all kinds of games.
They expect lifetime sales of this game to be $900 million USD. So this is an FPS game from a European studio. People are hinting that it could be Creative Assembly, who made Isolation and some of the Halo Wars games.
Yeah, they worked with 343 on Halo Wars 2, and they make the Total War games. And then they made Alien Isolation.
Yeah, so it's possible that, because it was announced that they were working on a new sci-fi shooter, I think last year or something, or earlier.
Yeah.
So it's possible that this could be that game, and I guess this is Sega's answer to Call of Duty, seems to be what they're hinting at.
Yeah, it's possible that it's that game, but it's also, it could be another game. But when the point is they say like a super game and they're like, we expect $900 million lifetime. It's like, yeah, that's huge, but that's just like a normal, like AAA, very successful AAA game title. So they're using this weird speak about it, but it's just like, Sega's like, guys, we're making a real game. And you're like, okay, cool. I'm excited for you, but like, I don't know, $900 million lifetime. It's like GTA 5 made $1 billion in a day, and it's GTA 5. But lifetime, you look at things like, I don't know, Spider-Man, the Spider-Man Sony game, God of War, or like like I said, normal Call of Duty, or a Rockstar game. Like, it's just a big game that makes that much money. It's not a super game. It's not Microsoft with their bullshit marketing. It reminded me of Microsoft when they said, we're working on a fucking quadruple A title. You're like, shut up, be quiet.
Another thing that they did talk about, though, which I thought was at least good, finally, is they were talking about going back to old IPs that they have and actually starting to do remakes and rebooting the franchises and doing some remasters if maybe that's more acceptable. And they put out a slide that has like all their dormant IPs, some of which are Crazy Taxi, Jet Set Radio, Streets of Rage, a bunch of others, House of the Dead, like we talked about, one of the first games I ever played.
Yeah. And so, they have this slide from their financial report, I think it was, talking about, their examples of active IP and examples of past IP. And they're saying where's the quote? This includes, I'll just read this quote from GameSpot. They say, beyond this super game, Sega said it's also planning to take advantage of its numerous existing franchises and utilize them in new ways to help fuel growth. This includes remastering older games, remaking games with new features, and rebooting franchises. And so that's what the slide's about. And that's good for fans of Sega and their old IP. I know just like 5 hours ago, Nintendo Life, which is a web sister site of Push Square and Pure Xbox, tweeted out this is their article that says, rumors Sega will re-release Sonic 3 and Knuckles in a new Sonic collection. So if that's true, I don't know that it is, but it looks like things like that is what Sega's going to be, in the works on, along with their new big game. Seems like they're getting way back into gaming. And I wanted to ask you about this because they say this in this article as well. And I want to see if this is something. Oh, by the way, they say that their Lost Judgment's coming out this year. So that's a pretty big game for them with a worldwide release as opposed to just coming out in Japan. So I wanted to read from the end of this GameSpot article. They say that Sega's, quote from the GameSpot article, Sega's latest earnings results for the year that ended March 31st, 2021 showed a dramatic drop-off for sales and revenue. Revenue for the year was 27.7 billion yen, which was down 24% compared to 36.6 billion yen the prior year. Operating income, meanwhile, was 6.55 billion yen, representing a sharp decline of 63.3% compared to last year's 27.6 billion yen. Sega said these major declines were due in part to the COVID-19 pandemic. As a result of the health crisis, pachinko halls across Japan were closed, and this is a major component of Sega's business beyond traditional video games. So do you think they're focusing as a company on making sure that they're supporting and reviving their older titles and getting more into the gaming space as a consequence of their market drop off in the pandemic? Because they're relying on these pachinko machines, and then they're like, there's a pandemic, and they're like, oh shit, we made no money. Fuck. Yeah,
I would guess that they're diversifying in case of future events, but I also possibly see this as them boasting to try to increase the price that people were trying to buy them for.
That's a good point too. Yeah, I didn't even think about that.
Like they're just like, hey, we have all these IP. Hey, we're working on this really big game that could make you a lot of money. That's what it seems to be. Like maybe they're going to sell their gaming division and keep their pachinko machines, because I don't think Microsoft gives a shit about their pachinko machines. I assume they would buy the game company part of them.
Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, I assume Microsoft doesn't care about that. But yeah, I don't know how any acquisition talks would work in regard to that. If they could just siphon off their gaming division or whatever. But yeah, it seems like these games and a lot of the bigger games were in the works for a long time. But I don't know if they're just reinforcing that they want to sell more of go into their back catalog of dormant IP and re-release and remaster and all this shit, because they had such a dramatic drop off in revenue, 24% because of their pachinko machines in the pandemic. So I don't know. You may see Sega invest more heavily in gaming as a consequence of the pandemic and how that's kind of maybe showed where they should, like Jaren said, diversify a bit of their revenue or income places.
Yep. And speaking of things that didn't go so well for people, Resident Evil Village has been accused of stealing some of its monster designs by Richard Raporst, who made a movie back in 2013.
Yeah, Frankenstein's Army.
Where he shows off this kind of propeller creature that he created for the movie that gets set on fire at the end of its fight with, I assume, the protagonist. I'm just seeing screenshots from the movie. But in Resident Evil Village, this is exactly how you defeat a creature that looks exactly the same as the one from the movie. You set it on fire in order to finish it off. So the similarities are quite striking.
I actually don't think you set it on fire. I don't know if you... I've seen the game played through at this point, but I know it shoots fire. Like, it shoots flamethrower shit at you. And then you have to, like, run around a small room with, like, flamethrower shit everywhere, and you have to shoot it in the back to kill it. But, yeah, I mean... Yeah, this guy came out and he said he created, a horror movie with all these monsters, and he said, quote, "In 2013, I directed my film Frankenstein's Army. It's a crazy monster movie filled with my own creature designs, one of which has been used completely without authorization or credit in the newest Resident Evil game." So that's his claim. And there's just shit, like some side-by-side comparisons of some other things from I think it's the movie and the game. Or maybe it's from other movies as well or something. But regardless, with that particular propeller creature, it's like, yeah, dude, that's pretty similar to what Resident Evil, or to the movie. Like, Resident Evil's monster is pretty similar to the movie. So it's kind of like, wow, it kind of does look like a ripoff. I don't know.
Yep. But essentially, this is kind of a dead story because Capcom nor Resident Evil responded to this allegation or anything, whether they responded in private or in general at all. It seems like they're going to just not say anything unless they get sued.
Yeah. And just by the way, some other Twitter user, what I was talking about was that there are a couple other creatures that resemble some other monsters in Frankenstein's Army. So yeah, it does look like Capcom, or the people at Capcom ripped off some of these designs to a degree. But yeah, since, there's a Japanese language barrier and there's a Dutch filmmaker and this other shit and Capcom haven't responded, it doesn't seem like it's going anywhere. It's just like, wow, it's pretty, it seems like they did. I don't know.
Yeah, the weird thing about it is it's like such an obscure movie. It's like how Hunger Games had that controversy with the original Battle Royale movie.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so, and that never came of anything, and that's way more of an obvious ripoff than this would be. So a lot of the times you can get around this stuff by just having similar inspirations.
It's just an interesting kind of story where you're like, wow, you guys are kind of some plagiarists, it seems, over at Capcom, allegedly. Yeah,
definitely allegedly. We don't want to get sued here. That would make us way more popular.
I was going to say, dude, we're too big, dude. We got to say allegedly, or else we're fucking gonna get sued, dude. Capcom listens to this. Come on.
Moving on to things that we're not the biggest fan of, but everybody else is. More video game conferences. And I run the doc that I hate this is plural.
Yeah, conferences. You're like, fuck.
But at least this first one, just kind of the main one. So E3's online app will feature virtual booths, leaderboards, and more. Essentially, like we talked about before, the ESA is making an app. You can sign up for it. I believe it's sometime in May. They haven't 100% confirmed when that is, but you can sign up for it in May. And then the online portal will be open June 7th for media. I don't know if you can sign up for that part, if you've got like a YouTube channel or a podcast or something. I'm going to look into that, see if we can sign up. But public access is for June 12th. And in this app /portal, as they describe it. There will be exhibitor booths featuring special events, VOD content, and articles. Lounges. I don't know how you lounge online. Like, what is back to PlayStation?
You and me are
Home?
lounging right now.
Forums, special boards. Obviously, everyone knows what forums are. Leaderboards. But I don't know. You watched the most paid advertisements on the app.
Gamified show elements that can be collected and displayed, encouraging fans to interact in as many ways as possible.
And you can create a profile so everybody who's weird and with you on this app can know that you guys are weird together.
Yeah, this seems like and it says registration for access to the online portal will be free and begin later this month.
Yep. So May. Some solid May. And other news that I don't think we ever talked about.
I just want to say this shit sucks. Like, I mean, it's good. I get what they're trying to go for, the pandemic and this digital shit. I don't think it's going to work out. I don't even know maybe the apps will crash and nothing will work, But regardless, it's like, who wants to do this,
Yeah, dude, I don't know. The most important part of this article is written right here. The live broadcast will also be viewable via Twitch, YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook.
Hey, dude, that's what we wanted.
Don't use the app.
No.
watch it on YouTube or Twitch.
I don't understand how they're going to implement this, and maybe their app will work, maybe it doesn't. Even if it does, who's going to care? And even those who do care, like, why would you? It's like people tune into E3 because they just want to watch the conferences. And it's like, well, people can't go to E3, so they have this online kind of meetup bullshit. It's like, yeah, but, people have Discord and other things, and no one, like, you don't go to E3 necessarily to meet a bunch of randos. If you're a journalist, you can already talk to your journalist friends, online and get all the access you need from. I mean, I don't know who this is for, really. So it's weird.
Yeah, it's definitely weird. And another weird thing to do with E3 is EA's next Play Live showcase will take place a month after E3. The publisher sets big games event for July, and it says that it will be July 22nd. So it's almost fucking 2 months after E3. Why? Why are you just not doing it around the same time as E3?
Dude, hot take from Caleb. Well, it's not really a hot take, but it's a take. I'm not mad because they haven't, EA hasn't announced themselves for E3, right? They're not, it seems like they're not going to be there, along with PlayStation, Activision, and Epic, it looks like. And they're like, well, we're skipping it and we have an EA Play Live on July 22nd. And it's like, good. Because frankly, your guys' conference is always the worst every time. So I'm not even mad.
Yeah, but so this is where it doesn't make any sense to me, Caleb.
What's up, man?
So Thursday, July 22nd, EA's like, whoa, Thursday, July, we're coming to you with EA Play.
EA Play Live, yeah.
EA Play Live, yeah, whatever the fuck it's called. No one cares.
Yeah.
Then they come out and say, Battlefield 6's reveal is now seemingly scheduled for June. And they say that they're going to show it off. They say, get ready for a reveal soon. And then they say words that rhyme with soon, June, boom. So are they just going to show off Battlefield 6 at E3 and then not have an event until July 22nd?
I don't know how they're planning on doing that Battlefield show. Maybe they'll have their own Battlefield like bullshit show. I don't know if we assume, regardless of what they show when at their own stuff, that there will be a trailer for Battlefield 6 at Xbox's conference, right? We assume that. But whether they're going to do their own Battlefield bullshit reveal event, I guess, is yet to be seen. Jared and I are in the mind of we love E3 in terms of bringing everyone together at once and watching everything so you don't spread it around the fucking year and it sucks and it's annoying because you got 19 things to watch in 3 months, right? In that way, I'd rather EA be at E3. For them, maybe they think if they do it a month after E3, they get more eyes, because it's not crowded. But then again, you have the counter to that, which is when E3 is happening is when everyone's watching. So it doesn't really matter. Maybe your news gets overshadowed a bit, so that's possible. And EA usually, I think, does go first. So maybe they're looking at that. But also on our end, where we usually like the conferences all together so we can just watch everything, I'm like, well, if EA's bouncing, at least it's EA, because their conferences usually suck. That's kind of where I'm at on all this news, where I'm like, yeah, I'd rather it be you. Like, get the fuck out of here. It's going to be higher quality this year, I guess.
I just think it's bizarre that they're announcing their biggest game in the month of E3 and then having their own show after they've already announced their biggest game for this year.
Yeah, we'll see what their plan is, but it is. I mean, we assume we'll see gameplay at their EA Play Live, and we'll see a trailer at Xbox's event, maybe, if depending on what they do on their own before or after E3 in June. Like, we'll see. I don't know what their plan is, but you're right. It's weird.
Speaking of another conference, I guess this one's more of an indie one. Guerrilla Collective Digital Conference returns with Inner Sloth, That's the people who make Among Us. Superhot, Thunderful, and more. And it just says another stacked lineup. And this show kicks off on June 5th. And although Caleb and I will be doing lots of E3 coverage, and we'll get more into specifics when we figure out exactly how we want to do this, we're not going to do these like little spin-off shows. We'll talk about them in the normal podcast form.
Yeah, they have 505 games. They're showing shit, and they say, IGN says, this mini showcase will feature over 75 cute and cuddly titles, and has been organized by the Wholesome Games community. I don't know what that means. Well, is that the same thing? Hold on, I may be reading something else in the article. No, that'll be okay. So on June 12th, the main showcase will be followed by the Wholesome Direct. So this is that's a mini showcase that will feature over 75 games from the Wholesome Games community. I don't know what that means.
I think that one has our Moonglow Bay.
Yeah, so there's that. Okay, well, that's cool. We like Moonglow Bay. But I was going to say, that's apparently after this, and I read it wrong. This year's Guerrilla Collective thing, that's going to have 80 games, or over 80 games from some of these studios. So you have an 80 games showcase. I mean, they're going to be featured in various ways, maybe not so much, so it won't be like fucking 20 minutes on each game, is what I'm saying. But they're going to have these 80 games featured, followed by another thing that's going to feature 75 games. Like, Jesus Christ, that's so many games.
And then E3.
Exactly. And then E3. So I've never actually heard of Guerrilla Collective. Like, they say it's returning. So apparently they've had one of these things before. I don't remember or have seen the first Guerrilla Collective.
Yeah, I read the article and I thought Guerrilla from Sony was throwing a weird
that's
digital
what I thought.
Conference with like the Among Us people. And I was like, that's weird, but it's not. It's just an entirely separate thine. So I don't know.
Yeah, with Day of the Dev, when that was returning, that we got announced that it was returning like a month ago or so. I had already heard of Day of the Devs, which Double Fine runs with I Am 8-Bit, and I was like, oh, I heard of that before, and that's coming back. This Guerrilla thing, I'd never heard of that, though.
Yep. And the last thing, we're just going to say this one quick, because a lot of people, I feel like this isn't their biggest thing, but Bethesda confirms plans for an all-digital QuakeCon 2021 event in August. So if you're excited about that, go check out more about QuakeCon in 2021.
It's kind of cool. Like, I don't care. I don't give a fuck about QuakeCon. And it's interesting that they're still going to have a digital event, but QuakeCon's pretty big. Like, a lot of people go to QuakeCon, and I think it's usually a pretty popular, it says the event usually attracts some 10,000 attendees. And it's usually pretty streamlined, and people usually like it, from what I understand. Like, the people who go and are interested. I don't care about it. But, yeah.
Hey, whatever floats your boat, whatever you like to go see, go and watch the digital event.
QuakeCon seems like it has more of a reason to exist than some of these other showcases, if that makes sense.
And with that, we're moving on to the review roundup.
In a world where reviews are too long to read and review videos are too long to watch, one man will compile all of the reviews and turn them into one easily digestible stream of information. This is the review roundup.
And this week, we got nothing. And I know Mass Effect came out. I know you guys are going to say, but Mass Effect came out. It's 3 old games that got a texture pack, and not even that impressive of a texture. I know they fixed the gameplay in 1. I know it's playable now. I know. I don't care. Go away.
You called it a texture pack? I was like, damn, Jaren's spitting them hard facts, bro. The facts people don't want to hear, bro. Like, you're right, though. Like, they added a photo mode, and they have a texture pack. And they made some of it look worse than it did before. So, there you go.
I assume it's great. The games are great. Everyone's like, yay, a reason to play Mass Effect again. And I'm just like, dude, why didn't they just like fully remake the first one?
Yeah, why wasn't the first one a Mafia 1 remake?
Yeah.
Like that.
And they're like, oh, we didn't have the time. And I'm like, you're EA, just do it.
Yeah, and I completed all 3 of these games, including DLC, back in like 2016, 2017. So I played them. They're great. If you haven't played Mass Effect, I guess this is a good time to play it. Honestly, though, lighting looks better, in my opinion. The games are darker, like Jaren said one time before, and moodier in the first, like, then they made them in this re-release. So I would actually, if you have an Xbox, I would just play the backwards compatible shit, though.
It's free in Game Pass.
Yeah, if it's all in there. I know Mass Effect 1's in there for sure, in Game Pass. I don't know about the others, but yeah. So
I think it's Game Pass Ultimate. You have to be a part of EA Play, but then you can play all 3 of the games.
There you go.
Now, getting away from review roundup, we're moving on to the XBlock, the main part of the podcast, talking about our Xbox news.
All our favorite Xbox news that you need to know about.
The first party future. So what is the first-party studios for Xbox working on.
What are? But yeah.
In Exile Entertainment hints at FPS RPG for Xbox. This was kind of just something that happened on Twitter, where In Exile Entertainment, the people who made Wasteland 3, and it says Torment Tides of New, whatever that says, but it's Wasteland 3, boys, all right? Wasteland 3.
Yeah.
They're making a new FPS RPG, at least that is what they seemingly teased when they said, they responded to Xbox's tweet that said, what kind of game should I play next? And they responded with all of them and Goose, and then pulled new plus FPS plus RPG.
Yeah, I don't know whatever the fuck's going on there, but people are reporting it somehow. Like, I guess they're confirming that they're working on a new FPS RPG. This basically, I would say, is just another thing that solidifies Xbox first party as the place, or Xbox as a platform, as the place to play RPGs. Like, you're getting, with all this shit, like Obsidian and all the Bethesda game studios, and, the Fable's coming in with the Playground Games people and all this shit. It's just like, yep, if you want to play RPGs, dude, this is where you go. Because even In Exile is working on a new first-person RPG, so.
And this is largely the first of their like big budget AAA games that this studio's really ever made. Like Wasteland 3 is bigger, but this is the first game that they'll make with like big funding.
I doubt you and I will like it more than Wasteland though. Like Jared and I are huge fans of Wasteland 3, dude. That game's great. And they got this expansion coming out in June. And I think it's June, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So,
June 3rd.
Yeah. Whatever they're working on, dude, I'm like, if they're working on Wasteland 4, I'd be even more excited. But if you're excited for another
probably
FPS
are too.
RPG, yeah, they split their studio. I think they're working on a couple things. So yeah, there you go.
Yep. And another very vague thing that happened in the Xbox first parties before we get into the actual first party news that we know about. An Xbox executive said, we have 23 studios across Xbox and Bethesda working on Halo, Forza, Fallout, and new IP that we haven't even talked about yet that's going to blow your mind. He just says new IP in general that they haven't talked about yet that's going to blow your mind.
Yeah, he doesn't even say the games. He just says the IP. It seems like a new IP that we haven't talked about yet that's gonna blow your mind. So you can read that a couple of ways. But first of all, I don't think that, like, I mean, he obviously he's talking, he's excited. But I don't think the IP are gonna blow my mind, Jared. I'll be honest with you. I've seen a lot.
Yeah, I'm sure I'll be excited. That's what I said. I was talking to my girlfriend yesterday and I read the quote and I was like, yeah, like everyone on Twitter is like, oh my God. And it's just like, yeah, but nothing is going to blow my mind. Like, there's no way I'm going to be that excited. Like, I'll have a great time. I'm sure even if the game's like a 10 out of 10, I'll be like, that was a great game, but it's going to still be a video game.
Yeah, no, it is very rare that something blows my mind, especially if they just reveal a new IP that I haven't played. And I'm like, okay. Jaren, you think, by the way, this isn't a new IP. I just kind of came across my mind. I just want a little tangent here. Do you think they're still working on Beyond Good and Evil 2?
At Ubisoft?
Yeah. You remember that game?
I assume, right?
You think so? I don't know, man. Whatever happened to that game?
Dude, I don't know, but it's got to be one of Ubisoft's games that's like coming, but just far, because they did show like somewhat of a slice of it.
Dude, I don't know. I just thought about that game and I was like, are they making that still? Like, have they said they are? I don't know. It's a little tangent, but I'm just curious. Dude, write into me if you know anything about Beyond Good and Evil 2. Go to like at XBlock Caleb on Twitter. Go for it.
There you go. And moving away from unannounced things that we have no idea what they are until after E3 to another unannounced thing that we don't know what's happening and we won't even know from this E3. Gears of War Studio is switching focus to next gen, but new games reveal not due for a while. So they're not showing anything. They've also confirmed that they aren't the ones working on that Star Wars title. So that's possible it's another Xbox studio, or it's possible it's just someone else entirely. There are studios working on Star Wars games, but it's not the coalition.
Yeah. They basically said they're changing to the Unreal Engine 5. They're having to learn the new engine a bit, and so while they're doing that, they're not going to have much to say for a bit. So we don't think they'll have anything to talk about really. Probably this E3. Maybe next E3 they'll have some sort of thing. And I don't know what that means for something like Gears 6, because I don't know if that's being made exclusively on the Unreal Engine 5. You assume it is, but I would have also assumed that game would have been in development for a while. Given the turnaround from 4 to 5, you would assume 5 to 6, that 6 would be coming out here kind of relatively soon. So I don't know what that means for that, but they're going to be making their new games on Unreal Engine 5, which they have a lot of history with Unreal Engine, so that makes sense for them, and their games always look really great. And yeah, like Jaren said, no Star Wars IP, so don't expect that from them. And then they're going to be working on Gears 5 through Operations 7 and 8, which is basically what they're going to be working on and talking about while they go away for a short amount of time and kind of learn Unreal Engine 5, essentially.
Yep. And who knows, maybe it's easier to port stuff over from Unreal Engine 4 to Unreal Engine 5, and maybe Gears 6 will be closer than we think it is.
Yeah, I don't know. I assume Gears 6 would be coming out, like in a year, like next year. But if they're making it exclusively on Unreal Engine 5, then maybe it's farther away. Interesting.
Yeah, or maybe when they said new games, they meant new IP, and this
know.
was entirely a retort to the Star Wars thing.
Yeah.
So it's possible that they could have meant that, and maybe they don't classify Gears 6 as a new game.
I guess we'll know after E3 this year if they show anything from the Coalition.
Yep. And the next news is Halo Infinite update kind of news. Didn't seem like it was big enough for a Halo block.
It's not really, no.
But I feel like you could give us a quick thing about what's happening in Halo, and then we'll hop on to the biggest news of the first party future.
Yeah, so on Halo Waypoint, the Halo blog over there, they posted a new thing. I don't think it's it's not like one of their Inside Infinite updates. I don't think, at least. It doesn't seem that way. But they showed some more stuff off from Halo Infinite, just some teasy shit. And basically it's 2 brute designs, which it seems like the game is going to have some sort of, I don't know if it's like a lieutenant type system in the game, but it is kind of a quest-based, more open world game. They say, quote, so back in issue 108, we introduced, which is one of their posts, by the way, we introduced you to a new character by the name of Jaga I don't even know how to say that, Domne. It's
love that guy.
Sangheili Blademaster loyal to the Askarim and the Banished Forces. We also mentioned that he was only one of several characters you would encounter in your adventures on Zeta Halo. Some will make their intentions obvious, while others might only give hints at their own deeper history. Each is designed to help introduce you to the nature and evolving presence of the Banished in the Halo universe, and I have a feeling that different folks will find different favorites. So I don't know if that means that they're going to have some sort of lieutenant kind of mini-boss system in the game, but they showed off concept art for 2 of them, and they look pretty fucking cool, dude. One of them is Hyperius, and another one is Tovaris. And they're basically just brutes with reddish hair. I guess it's paint. I don't know. But they have these like super like dope black armor uniforms with like red lights. And one of them has a red gravity hammer. And so it's like a big red and black design scheme. And it's maybe not be what they look like in their final designs in Infinite. But it seems like they're more armored up than brutes usually are in Halo, if you guys care about that. And their armor designs look pretty dope. And we'll see, I guess, more about these characters when Halo Infinite comes out. And then they showed off us this new gun called a scrap cannon, and it's also concept art. It's not actually the gun itself, so it may look different and all that when we actually see it in the game. They said it was initially nicknamed the Gatling mortar when it was being made, but they decided to call it the scrap cannon, and it's a brute weapon. But there you go. It looks like a fucking gun with a long ass, like handle that you would hold, and I don't know, it's very brutish looking, very scrappy looking. I don't even know how you would describe it, but there it is. And then they showed off a new Warthog design. Well, it's not a Warthog, I guess, but it's a vehicle called the Razorback. So they have, you obviously know that, they have the Warthog, and then they have the Mongoose and shit, and they have all their other stuff. Well, now they have a Razorback, and it's like a stylish ass fucking Warthog. It looks dope. There's no turret on the back. It looks like a kind of like a convoy or kind of like a troop, transport vehicle almost. If you guys played Halo 3, you'll know that they barely sometimes had that one type of Warthog that had no gun on the back, but could house, like you could drive like a bunch of troops around. This one has, in the cockpit of the car, it has, there's no like opening, it seems. It seems like you get in, and maybe it does on the sides where the doors are, but it actually looks pretty dope.
This is the sport version.
Yeah, it's like, exactly. It looks like a sport version of a Warthog. It has a windshield, and I don't know, it just looks cool. And so it makes sense they're going to have more vehicles like that to drive around the ring because it's going to be open world. So that's actually pretty cool. Hopefully it's faster than a normal Warthog. And it's concept art, so again, may look a little different when the game comes out. And then, yeah, that's basically it. They had more stuff, apparently. They had a recent novel release, which is Halo Point of Light, which is a sequel to a 2019, I think, Halo book, which kind of, if you guys know 343 Guilty Spark, it's basically like stuff happening with him after Halo 3, and then this other chick that's a protagonist, and so it's a bunch of stuff going on there if you care. But that's the main shit. That's the main Halo news that they announced. Just some screenshots. If you want to go on Halo Waypoint and look them up and find them, some concept art, and it's just a little bit more stuff to get you excited about the game, and looks cool to me. I'm on board with all they showed.
There you go, and that's the end of your mini Halo block.
Mini, yeah, not really enough to have a full one, because it's just, a few images behind.
Now we're moving on to the other space-themed Xbox exclusive. We'll talk about that later.
Okay.
But Starfield got some screenshots leaked. They're from that same place that we got other screenshots leaked before, which is supposedly from an early 2018 build of the game. So basically, it's nice to see things that kind of look like what will be in the game, but obviously all this stuff will be like better textured, more detail in the final version, because all of this stuff's from like 3 years ago.
It shows, a third person perspective from, an individual, and then it shows like some first person stuff, and you can see a bit of the environment. I assume they're real, but yeah, like Jared said, it can be totally different by the time the game comes out. Like, who knows?
3 years ago.
It shows a bit of the HUD, but that's probably going to be totally different too. So who cares?
Like on a normal development cycle, this would be like the third, maybe 6 months into development. It usually takes like people like 4 years to make a game if they're a big studio.
Mostly polished in like the last 5 months or so. So,
Yeah, so it looks pretty good for that, actually.
I guess so. If they're real, we assume they're real. There's more Starfield news though.
Yep, before we get into the biggest part, Microsoft has supposedly bought ad time for Starfield in 2021, thus lending towards the rumors that the game is actually coming out in 2021 and will be announced at this E3. Microsoft is purchasing up ad space for that, but we also know Microsoft does that super early, as evident with Halo.
I was going to say, that's according to Xbox Air's special_ed, as highlighted on the latest Xbox Air podcast. This person said that Microsoft has bought, ad time, and then they also point out that Halo Infinite had ad time as well, and then they delayed that game. So who really knows what that means? But then there was breaking news from this morning, Jaren, and what was that?
Yep. And that was that Jeff Grubb, 100% confirmed. He said he was 100% sure that Starfield was an Xbox, like a Game Pass exclusive. It's coming to Xbox, it's coming to PC. There's talk from some people that it's coming to Steam too. So an Xbox and PC exclusive.
Yeah, so basically, Jeff Grubb said Starfield is exclusive to Xbox and PC, period. This is me confirming that. So there you go.
Yep. So if you wanted this on your PlayStation, either boot up your PC or buy an Xbox.
Yeah, so there you go, dude. People were 100%, confirming that. So people were thinking, and Phil Spencer had these comments earlier. They were like, "Is it coming? Is it coming?" Well, it's Xbox console exclusive. There you go. According to Jeff Grubb. No, I guess technically it's not an official announcement. It's just Jeff Grubb confirming it.
It's him confirming it, and most of the stuff he said so far is true. Like, he did say the Star Wars Coalition thing, but he said even himself that he wasn't 100% sure on that. He just 100% knew people were making Star Wars games, and he had heard that the Coalition might be one of the people, like, working on it. But that also, based on how early they are in their game development, switching over to Unreal Engine 5, they could have been one of the teams talking to Lucasfilm about working on it and then decided not to.
Yeah.
So it's possible he was still even correct in that essence of what he said.
Good point.
The next one, moving out of kind of the future of the first party and into the current, Gears 5 will now be forcing crossplay between Xbox and PC players in an upcoming amalgamation of the multiplayer. And to this, I kind of say, yo, that sucks.
It does, dude. It really does.
And the community doesn't seem to be that excited about it because 40% of players are disabling the crossplay option. So this is why they're doing it. They say that significantly impacted matchmaking. But if 40% of people are doing something, they clearly don't want to play with the PC players. Like 40% of your audience is a big chunk of your audience, especially of the people still playing a game that's older.
Yeah, they say that that the parity is now, quote, almost identical between Xbox and PC. That's their thing. So I don't know where this technically came from. But the studio said that, quote, with the field of view update coming in, the ability to plug a mouse keyboard /keyboard into your Xbox, plus the frame rate and input lag reduction on the new Xbox consoles, we feel are at a point where the parity between Xbox and PC is almost identical, and confident enough in making this change going forward for Gears 5. A few things wrong with that, dude. First of all, just because there's an ability to plug a mouse and keyboard into your Xbox doesn't mean that parity is reached, because not everyone uses, guess what? Almost no one uses a mouse and keyboard on console for your Xbox. You can, it's an option, but the point about the console is that you use a controller. And most people don't use a mouse and keyboard for the fucking Xbox. Second of all, with the new consoles and this other bullshit, most people don't have the new consoles. And I would imagine most people that play Gears 5 don't have the new consoles. So that's a point of contention. And so they're like, we're doing it to, boost multiplayer counts, like, decrease waiting times because the communities aren't segregated. And it's like, well, they're segregated for a reason, though. And they're like, with all this stuff, we be like, it's, you're almost playing between, Xbox and PC people. It's almost an identical experience. And you're like, dude, you're wrong. No, it's not. Shut up.
Yep. And really, that's kind of how we feel on it. Like, there should always be an option to turn off crossplay. Like, I get that we're going towards crossplay being the future, blah, 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 blah. Unless everybody's using a mouse and keyboard, it will never be fair.
Yeah, you need a toggle. And first, like I said, the first of all, the things they say aren't even right. Where they're like, with the new consoles, like, well, most people don't have the new consoles, so that's already a moot point. But yeah, dude, you gotta have a toggle when you're doing crossplay. This, console and PC players being able to play together is a good thing, but you have to toggle it off because a PC, I mean, some of you may not know, but I assume you do. The PC mouse and keyboard setup is far superior to a controller in competitive play, which is why people let you toggle the option for crossplay.
Yeah, your arm is something like 50 times more accurate than your thumb.
Yes. And it's
like moving the mouse.
Yeah. So there, I mean, it's not, I don't know why they're doing that. That seems pretty lame. They may backpedal on it. We'll see. That's not, if they get enough, negative feedback from it, that they might, change it back to where there's a toggle. But they say they're confident. So.
Yep. So I guess we'll find out how that shakes down and if all the console players will be getting destroyed by the PC players in the coming future.
Yeah. I mean, if you're still playing the Gears 5 multiplayer, which the Gears community does have a lot of multiplayer stuff. Like a lot of people hold on to that multiplayer and play it for years, just like Halo 5.
Yeah. All right, now for some nice Xbox Game Pass news. I shouted this one out on Twitter at XBlock Podcast. If you want to follow us over there, I threw it at Caleb. Dungeons & Dragons Dark Alliance will be in Game Pass at launch, and that's June 22nd, console, PC, and phones. This is the game that we talked about in the FAF one time, where I said, hey, Caleb, this looks like a co-op game that could be kind of fun. Made by the Wizards of the Coast people, I believe.
Love those guys.
So yeah, another new game for Game Pass. Basically, nothing really to say about it either way. Just that it's exciting and we're excited about it. There's no real other news on it.
Yeah, pretty small time.
Yep. So now we're going to talk about some future features or current features in terms of the last one that are going to be on the Xboxes. Xbox is making quick resume even quicker.
Whoa.
Essentially, update coming out. There's really no specifics on how this works in the article because I assume the games journalist doesn't understand any more than I do about how to hardware a console. So essentially, all they really say is that Microsoft is making quick resume improved and has faster load times with its latest patch. So there you go. If you got an Xbox Series X and you got an S, quick resume will be quicker.
You use quick resume, right? Do you have problems with it with
no,
certain games?
You're a psycho.
No. I'm asking you. Do you have problems with certain games?
I know, and I'm telling you, no, I don't. You're crazy, man, for always quitting the game.
Well, I was just wondering because some people say that quick resume, like Macca and Stallion and others, say quick resume doesn't work all the time with certain games where they're supposed to be able to use quick resume, but they don't. Jaron is referring to the fact that I'm a crazy person because I'm worried that the quick resume stuff will fuck up my achievements. Fuck with my progress and other things because I've had bad experiences in the Xbox One era with, it's like, the game stays on when you turn your and you just turn it, you just log back into the game. And so I did that, a few times. And what it doesn't tell you is it'll sometimes sign you out of the multiplayer and fuck with your save progress or other shit. So I don't trust it. I know it works, but I don't trust it. So I don't use quick resume. I don't believe in it. It's against my religion. But Jaron uses it. And I was referring to if some games, you experience some games that should have quick resume, it just doesn't work. So. Oh,
well, some games just don't let them use it, I believe.
Yeah, I don't know how all that works, but apparently if you do use it, which you would if you're not me, it's getting quicker and better.
Yep, I use it for Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and every once in a while it signs you out, of the in-the-game multiplayer. It doesn't sign you out for Xbox, so that's why it doesn't affect achievement tracking or any of that kind of stuff.
I don't trust it, Jaron. It only takes one time.
But it signs you out in the game, but then by the time you've played the game for 5 minutes, it signs you back in. Unless it's an EA game, then you just go over to their online services, click on it, signs you back in, then you go and continue playing the game.
Sounds like some voodoo magic to me, my friend.
It is voodoo magic. And speaking of more voodoo magic, my favorite story of the day, Xbox Series X and S is getting Dolby Vision HDR soon.
Nice. You can use that, right? With your TV?
Yeah, I can use this on my new TV. And the way to break this down for people who don't really know what this is, they say with brighter highlights, sharper contrast, more vibrant colors. Obviously, to everyone, that just sounds like it gets better. So essentially what happens is Dolby Vision, the people who work over at Dolby, go into a game and they pick out all of whether it's through AI or whether it's through people there, they form this kind of HDR profile for the game. And when your TV runs it, it'll pop up in the top corner and say Dolby Vision now running. And all that means is that they've chosen the optimal viewing settings for you to play the game on. So you might have to like turn up brightness or that kind of thing based on where your like light is set in your TV. But overall, you don't have to change like the colors and stuff. They kind of give you the best experience that you can get. And your TV kind of just lets it happen. Like it defers to Dolby Vision.
Yeah, nice.
So if you have any experience with that, you on Netflix or what's it called? Disney Plus, all of those places, they do Dolby Vision HDR. It'll pop up in the top corner and say that. So you'll just get that for video games.
Yeah, my TV doesn't support Dolby Vision. So
most people's don't. So somebody's getting a cool thing if you have one of the fancy new TVs.
Yeah.
And another feature coming that I kind of thought was just funny, so I threw it in here. Xbox Party Chat is introducing speech-to-text integration. So obviously this is like, I'm guessing, an accessibility thing.
Yeah, I think so.
So that you can follow along with a conversation easier if maybe a person's talking and you're trying to see what they're saying. Essentially, stuff that's said in a party gets written out in a speech-to-text. My question to that is, like, does it censor things? Now Caleb and I have to test this to see if we can just swear at each other and then the Xbox will just type it down.
Say the most obscene things.
So that's like a quick one. If that's something you need, good news, it's coming to Xbox very soon.
I'd rather it be there than it not be there.
Yep, there's nothing really wrong with it. It doesn't hurt anything. So there you go. A nice benefit for people who need that kind of stuff. Now we're going to talk about some business of the Xbox. So after months of sellouts, Xbox is trialing a Series X and S reservation program, which I guess we would have been able to use, but...
Yeah, we're insiders, right?
Yeah, we are insiders. So today, essentially, they're introducing the console purchase pilot. This is what their tweet says. Allowing US Xbox insiders on Xbox One to register for a chance to reserve an Xbox Series X and S console. Check the Xbox Insider Hub on Xbox One for details. So this is probably already all filled up by this point. But
yeah,
Microsoft is using the Insider program so that they can get around scalpers and that kind of stuff. And I know that this is like their idea of their pilot program. I don't quite understand why they didn't just do this with gamer tags based after like a certain amount of years.
Yeah, like if you've had a gamer tag for like a certain number of years, like 3, 2.
Yeah, and then just work your way down in like in descending order until you get to like people who have just made them.
That's a good idea too. Yeah, I didn't even think about that, but seems like a good program to me if you could make that happen. But for this in particular, it's a decent idea, like that they're finally doing this, you know, like giving the Xbox insiders, like people who actually are inside on Xbox and play more and are kind of more integrated into the system, a way to actually get the fucking console. But at the same time, I don't know, I have some sympathy, but I have less sympathy for people who can't get the console at this point. It's like, dude, it's been since, what was it, November, October of last year? When was it? I mean, I know that they're not easily available, but I think I told people like, in this podcast, various episodes, my pre-order from Amazon, I canceled it the night before the consoles launched. And because Amazon said that it didn't matter and they wouldn't give it to me for fucking however long. And I was like, all right, fuck it, canceled it. And I went and got one the next day, like in a store, just because I used my brain a little bit. And I was able to go to a store that was the right size. And I just waited, in the parking lot for like an hour and I got one. So I imagine if you're trying hard enough to get one at this point, you probably got one. And I guess it's good if you work 50 hours a week, you got kids and stuff, but that's kind of a different story. So I have sympathy for that. But otherwise, if you don't have much going on, and you really want one and you hadn't got one yet, I'm like, what are you doing, man? Are you not trying that hard? Like they've been restocking.
I think it is easier in the States.
Yeah, that could be true too.
That's what I've discovered. Like, I think the Xbox is easier to get in general because I think Microsoft just has more of them because I think they bought more of the chips.
Yeah.
But like getting a PlayStation here is crazy. Like even if you follow the PlayStation like account drops, like I don't think they've dropped a PlayStation 5 here in any of like the major stores since like April 22nd. But they come out every week in the States.
And I was going to say also, if you live in a larger place, like if you live in a city with millions of people, I imagine it is harder as well. Like you live downtown in an apartment in like New York or Chicago or fucking Atlanta. I don't know. It's like, yeah, you might have a harder time getting a console.
Yeah.
But if you have any ability to travel, and you're willing to drive for like 40 minutes, I assume you could still get one.
Yeah, because they are still coming. They come to like each of the stores in their drops. Like they give all the stores a certain amount of them. So
I don't know, man. I was able to get one. Jerem was able to get one. We're both stupid. So like,
I got two.
Yeah,
but
I got my friend one. I got one, and then I got my friend one in Colorado Springs by like sending him a link, and it was still available by the time he got it. So, from Target.
Yep.
I don't know, man.
And speaking of another community that will soon feel the pain of trying to get an Xbox, the Xbox Series X expands to China very soon. And I believe that happens on June 10th is when it's going to happen. Pre-orders open on May 19th.
Okay, did they announce it maybe? Yeah, so there you go. PS5 is coming, I think, already in May.
Today.
Okay, today. Cool. So there you go. Yeah, they have some agreements since China opened up their console, being able to sell consoles in China in like 2000 and what was it, Jared? 14, 12, 13, something like that. Yeah, okay. I don't have the article open, so I read it at some point.
2014.
Yeah, so they partner with people and they can sell shit now, and you know why I'm excited, Jared. You know why I'm excited. There's a possibility for a Chinese edition Halo Infinite with a brand new achievement list, Jared. You know what I'm talking about?
There you go.
So maybe one day I'll be able to buy a Chinese fucking Xbox or some shit and play Chinese Halo Infinite and get some more achievements.
One thing I am wondering with this is, since Xbox is coming out almost a month later than Sony, but another thing that was announced is that they are creating a partnership with Tencent's Timmy Studios, and they made Honor of Kings, Call of Duty Mobile, so they formed a strategic partnership with Xbox Game Studios.
Yes.
Usually when you play ball with China's companies, they're more down to kind of push your product, so I wonder if by Xbox partnering with some of China's companies to make games, if the Xbox will be kind of a bigger deal in China because it's getting the hype from their corrupt government.
Yeah, we'll see, and it's Microsoft's partnering with Timmy to, I guess they're making a game, right?
I hope they're not called Timmy, and I'm just calling them Timmy.
Timi. I don't know how
they're
you would
Timmy
say
to
that.
me.
They're Timmy to me too, man. We don't like Tencent, and we don't like the Chinese government, but if you live in China and you're a Chinese person, it's like now maybe you can buy a new Xbox sometime soon. Good for you.
Yeah, you're definitely not listening to this podcast.
No. We don't have it. I mean, it shows us which countries people listen from.
Well, I'm also just sure that we wouldn't be allowed, probably.
Oh, you think so? No, we're great guys. Come on.
Your dude in charge kind of looks like Winnie the Pooh.
Oh, yeah, I did give that diatribe to just kind of completely shitting on the Chinese government like 2 weeks ago. So, yeah.
You did do that.
Yeah, well,
that happened.
Hey, do forgive and forget.
Forgive and forget. Yeah, you're right, dude. You guys should free Hong Kong, by the way, and stop murdering the Muslims.
Yeah, you should do that, but also put our podcast out there and give us some views. We'd appreciate it.
And last on the XBlock, happy 20th to Xbox. Essentially, Xbox's 20th anniversary merch is here. You can go check it out on the Xbox Gear Store if you want it.
Are you wanting any of it?
Nah, dude, it's too expensive here.
Yeah, the shipping for you is always something. That Halo shirt looks kind of cool, but the Halo shirt, I don't know, it's too gold. Gold isn't really my color, It's kind of flashy for me. But that $28 Xbox 20th anniversary tee with the green text, and that's kind of cool. I kind of want that.
Dude, the jacket I sent you was cool.
Oh, yeah, the one where you can put your gamer tag on the back. I'm thinking about buying that, honestly, the FanFest one.
Yeah, I couldn't get one because just to ship it here is too much.
Yeah, I might actually get it. I forgot about it, but I did look at it yesterday, and I was like, oh, that's actually pretty dope.
And they didn't have an extra large, so I was like, do I get double XL and just like hope it's not too big?
Yeah, Jaren's not even fat, by the way. He's just a very tall, large man. Not even lying,
Yeah, so
I don't know. How tall are you, by the way, for the audience?
Like, well, people tell me I'm 6'2", but then I stand next to people who say they're 6'2" and I'm 2 inches bigger, so I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know if people are just lying or if I'm lying. I've always just followed the rule that if you're above 6 feet, it really doesn't matter.
Dude, you guys wouldn't know, but like Jaren's like fucking 6'8", or 6'38" or something, and I'm like 5'3", 5'4". So, dude, when we get together, we're like a fucking Autobot, dude. We like transform and roll out, You look fucking
dude,
dope.
He sits on my shoulders and we dominate the competition.
Yeah, dude, it's fucking wild, dude. If they ever had what is that, chicken? You play chicken in the pool, where you get on someone's shoulders? Dude, we'd fucking obliterate everybody.
Dude, Caleb and I would be the greatest NBA player because he'd catch the ball and then I'd throw him to the basket.
There you go.
All right, and that is the end of the XBlock. We're running kind of long, but not terribly.
Bit long. We can make this a bit shorter of a conversation because there was a lot of news this week, honestly.
Yeah, there was, and we didn't even have a review roundup or anything.
No, yeah, if we did, woof.
Yeah, and I cut out the Remedy news because I didn't really know what they were talking about.
Yeah, and also, but it's also kind of good because your editing goes a bit faster now that you got a new PC, so it's not too bad.
It's true.
Yeah.
So for the X Factor discussion, that's what we're hopping on to, where we kind of just pick a topic and discuss it. Obviously, we'd love some community interaction here, so if you want to go over to YouTube and leave us a comment, just look up the XBlock podcast.
Or Twitter.
Yeah, or Twitter. at XBlock Podcast. And either place, if you leave us a question, we'll definitely answer
question or comment, anything like that,
Yep.
feedback.
Feel free. Any kind of feedback, we'll take it to heart. Unless it's mean, then I'll take you to town.
There you go. There you go.
So essentially today's question is, what is Steam's place in console gaming? And this kind of comes from an article where Gabe Newell teases the possibility of bringing Steam games to console. And he's kind of vague, really vague about what he means by it, whether that means games made by Valve or whether that means Steam in general. So I kind of just wanted to know what our thoughts on Steam on console would be.
Yeah, I'll just say, just from the story quick, that is kind of interesting. He said it like he was giving some talk at a college in, I think, New Zealand or some shit like that. The Sancta Maria College, where he was a guest speaker. Someone asked him, will Steam be putting any games on consoles or will it just stay on PC? And then he said, quote, you will get a better idea of that by the end of this year. And then he replied for adding, quote, it won't be the answer you expect. So that's interesting. And that kind of, prompt this X Factor discussion of what is Steam's place in console gaming. For my own experience, it's like Steam doesn't really belong in console gaming. I mean, they tried with the Steam box, right, at some point, and the Steam is a storefront, obviously on PC with hundreds of millions of users.
Yes, so you mean they don't belong as like hardware? Because obviously they made like Left 4 Dead and stuff.
That's a good point. So their place in console gaming is, as a publisher of their first party, their games. So like the Orange Box, when they released that on the 360.
Yeah.
And where they had a collection like that, and like with Left 4 Dead 2. Yeah, just like publishing their games on consoles seems to be where they're at. I don't know what he's saying in that particular quote where he's like, are they going to have some way to access a Steam storefront? I doubt it. And people are pointing out in the article, and also you would just think this normally, that it seems like he could be referring to just Half-Life Alyx coming to PSVR 2 when that initially...
See, I feel like that's expected, though. He tells us not to expect it.
Exactly. So it gets a little deeper, where he's like, it's not what you'd expect. And then that also points into, or goes into, the Epic versus Apple lawsuit info that came out where, and this isn't super news, but it's like, it said Phil Spencer, has been in kind of regular talks with Gabe Newell about some shit. And so we don't know what that means. We assume everybody talks to everybody, though, so that's kind of...
maybe they're just boys.
That could mean nothing. That could mean a lot. But it seems like in Steam's place in console gaming, PlayStation is getting more in bed with Epic, it seems. Even though Epic sometimes likes them, sometimes doesn't, based on those court documents that came out. And then, but it seems that, Xbox seems to be working better with Steam on their storefront and things like that, with the release of like Halo the Master Chief Collection and Forza, and it seems that Xbox and Steam have a more friendly kind of cooperative relationship. So anything where Steam has a place in console gaming, it seems would be, I would say, more Valve, who owns Steam. Valve as a publisher of games on hardware, with some maybe specific arrangements with Xbox for exclusivity or some nonsense like that. But then Steam as a storefront, I don't know if it really has a place in console.
Yeah, see, where I'm reading into this is, I feel like this is going to largely be an Xbox thing.
Yeah.
Like, sure, the Half-Life Alyx could be expected, and that might come to PlayStation VR, especially when they release the new version of PlayStation VR. That being said, they're trying to sell their own VR headset that they make, so that might not be the best move for them, but we'll see.
Hey, I've heard that talk too, but it's like, it seems like that game, even though they said it was going to be a exclusive to their headset, that it's probably sold all the headsets that it's going to at this point, and that people who are going to buy it have already bought it, so might as well put it on other platforms, at this point.
That's a fair point. What I think is going to come from this is, we've seen Xbox making lots of moves to get mouse and keyboard support. And being one of the only consoles that does like fully support it, I don't think PlayStation does.
No, they don't.
If Steam, in the sense of like how you can stream your Steam games through the Xbox browser, if like a streaming version of Steam comes to the Xbox where you can access your library of games, but you have to use a mouse and keyboard.
I was thinking something like that too. I didn't know how that would work, but I was also thinking something along the lines of integrating some nonsense with their new web browser, and the same way you can access like Stadia and all kinds of other shit. And
yeah, but that would be funny, because then every time Sony puts a game on Steam, if Steam had an app on the Xbox that you could, because most games have controller support through Steam.
Yeah.
So if you can stream your Steam library to the Xbox, for example, you could be able to play Death Stranding, Days Gone,
Horizon,
all of those games on your Xbox. Horizon, yeah.
Probably God of War, we assume, is coming at some point.
Yeah, basically, if the games come out, they'll probably bring it over eventually.
Yeah, I wonder if that would, I don't know if that would incentivize, maybe to some degree, Sony to stop putting their games on Steam. Because right now, Jim Ryan seems like he wants to do that to get some market data and just to make some more money. But it's like if you can make those available on Xbox, like, would you keep doing it?
Yeah, it's weird because they are technically now, like if you go through the web browser and you use the streaming capabilities, like some of them do work. I imagine they just wouldn't okay their games for streaming. But if the Steam app is like, if Steam makes an app and it's native to the Xbox, then I guess technically that wouldn't be streaming. It would just be like on Steam.
I have no idea how this would work, but apparently there was more in this article that I read earlier, which I remember it was reported on at the time. But it says that they were working on, that Valve is kind of they're working on other unannounced games at this time too. So it could have something to do with that. But like I said, Gabe's like, it's not the way you'd expect. It's like, I don't know what that means, Gabe. I don't know what you're saying, but they've got stuff going on. I think they were, Half-Life Alyx kind of reinvigorated them to some degree where they have come out and said basically, that they're working on other stuff and that they don't want to stop necessarily making single player titles and stuff like that. So it seems like we haven't seen the last of Valve making games, and how that will integrate itself into the console space, I don't know, but I assume we'll see in a year or two. You probably get some sort of
if they go with the streaming approach that we talked about, then they could technically lock games to their, or even if it's not a streaming thing, like you can sign in through Xbox or something, but they could lock games to Steam, like their new IPs, and you would have to then use their platform to be able to play them.
Yes.
So that would at least make them an extra stack of money that they wouldn't have to share. So who knows? Maybe that's a possible avenue of it too.
It's all very interesting. I'll say that.
Yeah, so we'll wonder if we'll see any of that at E3.
Yeah.
Maybe Steam will be at E3.
Probably not, but maybe next year. Some news incoming at some point imminently.
Yep. He said we would know by the end of the year, so...
Yeah, well, it's a good point.
So who knows? All right, moving on to Game Pass or Gameplay. This is just a quick mention. Every month, at the first episode of the month, we spin a wheel, which gives us a game specifically from Game Pass, and then Caleb and I have to play that game for a decent amount, enough time to give kind of our thoughts on whether this is a game you should spend your time in Game Pass, or if it's a game that you shouldn't. So whether you should play it or whether you should pass.
Yes, and this month's is DayZ.
Yep, it is DayZ, and we have played a little bit of it, but we're kind of saving our at least initial impressions until closer to the episode where we will review it entirely.
A little bit of a tease. I'm holding on to it close to the chest, but Jared and I are playing it cooperatively to some degree.
And if you wanna know about our other reviews, you can go listen to the first episode of each of the previous months.
Yes, I think at this point, Jared and I have played and reviewed Donut County, what else? Spiritfarer and
Dirt 5.
And Dirt 5. Yes.
Yep. And we got all the achievements in 2 of them.
Yeah, I mean, seriously.
If you'd like our thoughts on those, go check those out. If you're waiting for our thoughts on the next one, just keep waiting.
Stay tuned.
And we will get there eventually. All right, Caleb, moving on to the FAF. And the FAF is the section where we take news that is kind of a waste of your time to read. It would be described as FAF. And we make it kind of fun.
Yeah.
And we mostly make fun of it. And if this is news that you care about and you think should have been in the main show, feel free to let me know. I probably won't move it for the next show, but you can tell me.
It's all a bunch of faff, Jaren. They don't know what they're talking about. Don't listen to them.
All right, Caleb, start us off.
Microfaff, it's back.
The Microfaff is back indeed. If you can't find May's Gamerscore Challenge on Xbox, you're not alone. Apparently, the Gamerscore Challenge for Xbox that lets you get 10,000 Gamerscore for 10,000 Microsoft points is back, but it's missing for a lot of people right now.
Oh, so it's not region locked like we thought it was, you and I?
Yeah, it just doesn't show up for lots of people.
Well, that sucks. It showed up for me, and yeah, that's over, if you manage to get all of that, it's over a $10 value. And those are great because they're passive. Like, it's like, well, you know, I didn't get 10,000 gamer score, so I didn't get $10. It's like, yeah, but if you earned like 1,000 or 2,000 gamer score that month, you still got like $2 for doing nothing. So
yeah,
not bad.
So if you have it, make sure you activate it and then hop on it.
You do need
if
to
you
activate
don't have it yet, continue to complain to Microsoft on Twitter and hopefully they fix it.
Yes.
Next up, the original Xbox background is now a free dynamic theme on Series X and S. Very small amount of people who would care about this here, so that's all for that.
And yeah, I don't care. You know, if they had a 360 blades kind of bullshit going on, Jaron, you know what I mean? That'd be hype. But this thing I looked at and I was like, eh.
This is one of the funniest things that I thought this next story is because Caleb and I joked about this on the last show.
Oh,
now Xbox is getting its own Adidas branded shoe. So you guys didn't hear it. We cut this part out of the podcast where we said
did?
we'd make an Xbox shoe.
Oh,
but
yeah.
apparently Xbox is going to make an Xbox shoe to go against the PlayStation Nikes.
Dude, we should have kept it in. Now no one's going to believe us.
So maybe we'll put that out as a TikTok at some point.
Masters of predictions, dude.
And lastly, incredibly, it's possible to use the Xbox Series X on a Nintendo DS.
And how does that work, dude?
Dude, I don't fucking know.
That's a good
with
point. Who
cables, HDMI adapters, a bunch of nonsense. If you really want to do this, maybe you should have bought a Nintendo DS just to play that. Like, I don't know what you're doing. You got a Nintendo DS, you're like, hey, yo, what if my Xbox works on this? Just get out of here. Get out of here.
Jaren, if you take the word cable and you mix the letters around, it spells Caleb.
All right, that's the most faff thing that's been said. And lastly, in the microfaff, there's a lot here today. Dave Bautista says he turned down Fast and the Furious to pitch a Gears of War movie. So Dave Bautista, big Gears of War fan.
Big Gears fan. I mean, he is in Gears of War now. In Gears of War
That's
5,
true.
you can play as Dave Bautista through the campaign.
Yep. And now he wants to make a Gears of War movie. So hopefully he gets that greenlit, because I like when people get their dreams made.
Yeah, Dave Bautista seems like a cool dude. Gears of War is
Yep.
pretty good games, especially, 5 is great. So,
There you go. That's the end of that. Hopping over to the next one.
Oh, you're talking to me.
Yep.
Okay. The FAF station. I was like, who, me? It's just the two of us. Who else would you be talking to? Oh, that was great. You can cut that if you want, but that was funny. You
So
talking to
Sony-
me?
Are you going to let me go?
No, dude, I'm still I don't know what I was thinking about, dude. I was just like, I don't know. I was just staring off into space, and there was a silence, and I was like, "Oh shit!"
This will be the TikTok now.
Oh, my stomach hurts. Oh, shit was funny as fuck. Okay. Oh, that was a good one, Jeremy. All right, I'm ready now. I'm all good.
All right. Sony has over 25 PS5 games in development and says almost half are new IP. And I don't really believe them, but I believe that they're working on these, but when are they going to come out?
Yeah, and they said 25 new IP, right?
The 25 games in development, half are new IP.
Let's look this up real quick, and you can keep the typing in, by the way. How many first-party studios does Sony have? Pretty sure it's 11 or 12 or 13. 13. There you go. It's 13. I was right. Well, half right. It's 13 studios.
So every one of them is making a new IP, and while they're doing that, they're also all making another game.
Yeah, I'm okay. All right, sure. What did you want? Someone said an idea for a game in the bathroom next to another dude, and that they're counting that. Yeah, get the fuck out of here.
And in other FAF Station news, a popular reseller site claims it now sold over 130,000 PS5 consoles. So if you want a PS5, Sony's not selling it to you. They're selling it to Jim, who's selling them all for $800.
If you didn't buy Jim's fucking PS5, dude, he wouldn't be making any money, and he would be eating costs. And, the scalpers would go away. But all you fucks out there are buying the scalped consoles, feeding this market.
Yep. So it's your fault.
Yeah, I mean,
it's your fault and Sony's fault.
There's a demand. There's a demand enough where all you assholes are paying hundreds of dollars extra for consoles. Just don't. I mean, you can do what you want, but I mean, it affects other people in the market, and also it's just not I don't think very highly of you. You paid $400 extra for a PS5. What the fuck? There's not even any games to play. It's $1,000 or whatever.
Yep. Fair enough. All right, Caleb, moving on to the next one.
Just a drop of duty.
80s action heroes Rambo and John McClane are coming to Call of Duty. So last week we talked about how Rambo might be. Well, now it's confirmed both Rambo and John McClane are coming to Call of Duty. So there you go. Just a little bit of duty. Who
Call
cares?
of Duty doesn't work, though.
That's true.
So, I don't know. All right.
Neither does Stallone anymore.
Yo.
All right, Caleb, hit me with the next one.
The FAF of the FAF. Wow. All right.
Fortnite's NFL skins were hugely popular.
Jesus.
That's it. Fuck
Christ.
off.
Wait. No, you know what? I was going to ask what skins. I don't care.
I already closed it. I don't know.
I'm over it. No, I thought about it for a half second, and I thought, wait a minute. I don't care.
All right, Caleb, next one. I just wanted to put Fortnite in here so we could use the tags.
There you go. Every week, one sentence reaction.
Google claims Stadia is alive and well following high-profile departures.
That's a blatant lie, dude.
There you go. GTA 5 looks frighteningly realistic thanks to Intel's machine learning.
Does it look as good as The Last of Us 2?
It actually does. We could talk about this one just a little.
Okay.
essentially they're using real scan data of streets and cars, and it overlays over top of it, so the game looks hyper realistic, but it looks way more like shit because it's just LA, right?
Yeah.
So you're just looking at LA and you're like, wow, this place looks depressing and gross.
Oh, I should have asked. Yeah, my one sentence reaction should have been, did they get the 80,000 homeless people in there?
All right, Caleb. And the last one that we're finishing off on kind of a happy note, 93-year-old YouTuber loves racing games.
Jaren, there's got to be something funny to say about that, right? Like, there's got to be just a alley-oop tossed up easy mode one sentence reaction. What is it, Jaren?
I can't. They're all gonna get us in trouble.
Yeah, they're probably illegal, to even say. Some of them. I don't even know. What do you say about that, Jaren? What does...
You know what? Good on you. Good on him.
What does one say about that story? I don't know,
I don't know, dude. During the 1960s, he was a taxi driver. Then he drove dump trucks in the 1970s and 1990s. And now he plays video games with his racing wheel.
Yeah, it's such a wholesome story. Good for that guy.
It's a good dude.
Yeah, I don't have anything. Usually I have something. That one,
I'm glad that both him and I are into dump trucks.
Yeah, he and I, but I'm with you.
Everybody else will understand that joke. Caleb missed it.
Oh, did I miss it?
Too focused on grammar.
Oh, I got it. Yeah, you're right. I got it now. I'm good.
And that is the end of the XBlock podcast.
The worst.
If you want to follow this podcast outside of the current platform that you're listening to it on, you can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Overcast, CastBox, Google Podcasts, basically everywhere that matters. If you want to follow us outside of the podcast, you can find us at XBlock Podcast on Twitter, at XBlock Podcast on Instagram, at XBlock Podcast on TikTok, and head over to our YouTube, the XBlock Podcast. And Caleb, where's the Patreon?
Dude, it's at patreon.com/XBlock Podcast. If you want to support us over there, throw us a couple dollars, $1, $2, $58,000, you can. And we'll reinvest that money back into the podcast. We got Jaren a new computer. Our next stretch goal is likely to get me a brand new mic. Because I got a nice, blue, if you guys are curious, a little bit of the production stuff, I got a blue Yeti microphone, but it's like from 2014, 15. And I could probably use a new mic from 2021 that's a little nicer. So I'll take it. Got to make the podcast better. Got to use the money wisely.
Yep. So every fund on our Patreon goes directly back into making the podcast better.
Yeah.
And that is the end of our show. Jaren's got to poop. So take us out, Caleb.
Dude, XBlock fucking plop.
XBlock out.
Thanks for listening to the XBlock. New episodes every Monday at 5 a.m.